Hello everybody. Well, here we are with part 3 of our story of Joseph. Now, we left Joseph in Egypt in charge of all the grain stores, and people from all over the world were coming to buy wheat from their grain stores. Now, in Canaan, Jacob and Joseph's brothers were beginning to suffer. Food was getting very short, and Jacob had heard that there was food in Egypt. So he said to his sons, "Right, pack up the mules and go to Egypt and get us some wheat so that we may eat bread again." And so the brothers started to prepare. But Jacob wouldn't allow Benjamin, his youngest son, to go with them. Having lost Joseph, his favourite, Benjamin was now his favourite, and he wasn't going to let him out of his sight. So the brothers set off, and Canaan is in what is now Israel, and they had to travel to Egypt, so it would have taken them several days. It's not just round the corner. So they set off to go to Egypt. The brothers arrived in Egypt, and they bowed down before the governor, not realising that it was their brother Joseph, and they begged him for food. But he was quite harsh to them, and he said, "I don't believe you've come for food. I believe you're spies from Canaan." And the brothers said, "But we're 12 brothers. We were 12 brothers. One of our brothers has stayed at home, the youngest one, and one is missing, and we just desperately need some food." So Joseph said, "Okay, prove that you're not spies. Leave one of your brothers here, and I'll give you the wheat that you need, and you can go home and get your youngest brother and bring him back to me. And if you bring him back, I will know you weren't spies." So he chose Simeon, his brother, to stay with him, and they loaded up their bags and they went back to Canaan. And the reason Joseph did this was that he was desperate to see his brother Benjamin, who he loved so dearly. And when they got home, they showed Jacob the food that they'd brought back, and they said, "But the governor wants us to bring Benjamin back with us." And Jacob said, "No, you're not going to. It's not going to happen." But gradually, as time went on, the famine in Canaan got worse and worse. And in the end, Jacob had to give in, and he had to allow them to go back to get some food, and he had to allow them to take Benjamin with them. So they went back to Egypt with Benjamin. And when Joseph saw that they'd brought Benjamin back with them, he was thrilled. And he decided to have a big feast to celebrate. But he still didn't let them know who he was. And after the feast, the next day, the brothers started to get ready to go back to Egypt. And they filled up their bags with wheat, plenty of wheat. But Joseph hid a silver goblet, his own silver goblet, in the bag of Benjamin's mule. And the brothers set off. But after a few miles, Joseph sent his steward after them. And the steward said, "My master thinks you've stolen his goblet. I need to search your bags." So he searched the bags and of course found the goblet in Benjamin's bag. And he said to them, "Right, that's it. I need to take Benjamin back with me." And they begged him to release him, to be merciful to Benjamin. And the steward said, "I can't do that. You'll have to ask my master. You'll have to come back to Egypt and speak to him." So they went back to Egypt and they spoke to Joseph. And Joseph this time revealed who he was. And he hugged Benjamin, the biggest hug ever. And he kissed all of his brothers. He was so overjoyed to see them. So having revealed himself to his brothers, he said, "You must now go home, and you must bring my father Jacob back with you, and all your herds and your flocks and your wives and your children, and you must come and settle in Egypt with me." And the Pharaoh, who heard that Joseph's brothers had come to see him, and that they were going to move to Egypt, lent them his wagons and mules to help them carry the things they needed to bring with them. And so the brothers went back, and they said to Jacob, "Joseph's alive. Not only is he alive, he's the governor of Egypt. He's a really powerful man." And they told Jacob all that they had seen and heard and what had happened. I don't know whether they told Jacob about what they'd done to Joseph and how he'd got to Egypt, and if they did, what Jacob felt about that. Anyway, they packed up all their things, they herded their sheep and goats, and they packed all their clothes, and they did the journey to Egypt. The final time of journeying to Egypt. And when they got there, the Pharaoh welcomed them and said, "You may choose which land you would like to settle in. Any of my land is available to you." And so Joseph and his brothers and father were reunited in the land of Egypt. Now, after each story, we've done an activity. We made Joseph and his coat of many colours, and last time we made a pyramid. This time I thought it would be fun to make a game. Okay, so I don't know what sort of game you might want to devise. This was an idea I had. So it's a game with a dice and a counter, and we're starting off in Egypt with the brothers going back. They get accused of stealing, so they have to go back to Egypt. Then they go back to get their father. There's a sandstorm, so they have to miss a turn. There's an oasis, so they stop for water. And then they're nearly home. So they move forward 2 spaces because they're going quicker. They get back to Cana here, and they load up the mules. So you miss 2 goes while they're loading up the mules. And then they come back. They have to stop for Jacob to rest, so you miss a go. And then they get to here, and Joseph comes out to meet them. And so they move forward 2 places to the end. So that was my rough draft. And then I thought, okay, that's okay, but I think I can do better than that. So I then made this, very similar to my draft, but now we've got an oasis, we've got a start and a finish. The other things are mainly the same. We've got Cana there where Jacob was. Now this is my idea, and you're welcome to use this idea, but I know how good you are, and I know that you'll come up with some amazing games of your own. So I hope you enjoy doing that. Maybe you can send me a picture on my email. I'd love to see them. I also made a brother as a counter, and obviously you can make as many brothers as you like to go on your game, or however you decide to do it.